Oh my boy.
As always, live from the apocalypse. This is State of the Game. We are suited and booted here uh, because it's an important occasion, right? I am Dano, equipped with my Sankofa hat. Thank you, Sankofa, for getting that out in a timely manner. Um, I'm always stocking up on the merch. That is a promise. So, my co-host, as always, uh, Dapper Dan's, most famous student, K Diggy, is here, ready to go with the boats on the rainbow. Uh,
Mhm.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
And
man.
we have somebody, man, who's a real unique property in the world of rap music. Uh, and I remember he came. I couldn't see him play, but he played in Portland, Maine, at a little place, a little brewing company next to a bagel shop that is closed right now. And
I
I
remember that.
came in there the next day to get some beer, and I asked the guy how he was, and he just lit up and was like, nicest guy you'd ever meet, you know? Uh, and so this is somebody who has really built relationships. I mean, very few people can say they've had projects produced entirely by Aesop Rock, Edon, and Kelly Chris, right? That's pretty heavy shit. So we are talking to the Homeboy Sandman.
What's up?
Appreciate
What's
you
up, my
taking the time.
friends? My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. So I wanted to start this just by saying,
I remember that show. My boy Miles, Miles
oh,
Bullen, I think
Miles
his name.
Bowen. My family loves Miles Bowen.
Yeah, that's my dude. He was rocking that show with us. Lunar Landing, who I already mentioned, was rocking.
Yep.
That was a fun show. I remember that.
Yeah. Shout out to Miles Bowen, who's everywhere all at once. A real tour monster. So the no, I wanted to express to you how you like. So we are in a very love and hate environment right now, where everybody kind of has to have an extreme take on everything. And I just wanted to tell you, my relationship to you is entirely unique and not like with any of that. You started in the public space around 07, 08, is that right?
Yes, my first record come out in '07, 2007.
Yeah.
Nourishment.
Yeah, I remember. So, and I was basically listening to all your projects and monitoring them. I didn't understand what you were doing. I'd be like, is this dude rapping about carving a pumpkin? What is happening? Um, but there were always three songs where you picked the nastiest beat and just went nuts on.
Mm,
And so I would grab those three songs and bump them all year, you know?
mm,
And so I was always listening to Homeboy Sandman, but never like religiously. Um, and that changed. That changed entirely with the Lice EPs. That was the big turning point for me. The three EPs you put out with Aesop Rock that really
mm,
changed my relationship to both of you,
mm,
because I was like, Homeboy Sandman's funny as hell. Like it really helped get like changed, and it was like, oh, Aesop Rock's really good at simple hooks. Like it really changed the way I thought of you, because there were so much narrative behind you at that point that I was able to really engage in the music in a different way. And I'm really glad I did, because right now you're in the best space of your career lyrically, in my opinion.
I do feel that way. I'm glad you feel that way too. Yeah, I'm very excited, yo. It's an exciting time. Big shout out to my boy Ace too for my life brethren for those for all the records we've done together and those life records too.
Yeah, man. Gems on there. Those are still on Bandcamp. Uh, Oatmeal cookies, pizza, and hot dogs. Get all that stuff.
Went up and yeah, the vinyl, you can go pick up the vinyl at rhymesayers.com. There's vinyl t-shirts, all that.
Oh, get the
Mhm.
vinyl. It's worth it's yeah, it's an incredible project, and it was just you guys picking the strangest beats and just ripping, you know.
Mm.
And I just adored that. And it really set off this new wave. Kay, when did you start dialing into Homeboy Sandman? When was your
My introduction was "Don't Feed the Monster."
That was a very important record for me in my life.
Yeah,
and
that was
go ahead, okay. Sorry.
yeah, because I remember you recommending it to me,
Mm.
and so I put it on, and yeah, that was my introduction, my first full introduction to Homeboy Sandman.
Good intro. I'm happy. The record that I put out before that was
Mm.
called was Dusty, and I kind of yeah, and I thought I think the production on that is beautiful. My boy Mono and Stereo, who produced Rich in its entirety, and has done a lot. We've done a lot of collaboration together. I feel like he's my twin flame production was on the production, so it was gonna sound good. But spiritually, um, I was at a very low point, and a lot of the stuff I was rhyming about, and a lot of frequency I was putting out, um, I'm not proud of. But it was, it was the darkest before the dawn and all that. But but don't feed the monster. So when people's first exposure to me or is Dusty, I say, well, there's a bunch of other stuff. Go listen to this, that.
Yeah.
When the first thing is Don't Feed the Monster, that makes you feel good.
I mean, it's wild. Like literally, the first song I heard from you was "Trauma." So, I mean, that's a. I mean, and I told Dan at the time when I heard it. I mean, that was one of the most fascinating songs that I've ever heard. And I don't know. Do you want to dig into it now, or do you want to?
Well, we can so. And my whole family has listened to a bunch of random Homeboy Sandman songs because I load them in the car. So like my whole family knows Radiator. My whole family knows Go Hard, right? But my wife had never heard Trauma until last night. I put the video on right before we were about to go to bed, and I looked over to her, and she wasn't crying, but she had wet eyes. You know what I'm talking about? Like wet eyeballs, and she was looking at me like, "You motherfucker, you played this
Yeah.
go to bed." Like it was awesome. Because I had forgotten how just that's a career's worth of content on a song, you know. That's and very few people in the history of the world would have put that song on the same album with the girl getting dressed song. Like it's such an incredible contrast. Like yeah.
It's funny that we're talking about those two songs one after the other because the tone of Don't Feed the Monster was more Trauma was like Waiting on My Girl was some of the comedy relief and Hello Dancer, like there was lighthearted moments within a record that I think was predominantly more somber, but when I put Trauma out, more so than any other song that I had ever put out in my whole life, people reached out to me and said, wow, I can relate to this song. And I had amazing conversations with people like, I had amazing conversations with my family and with people, but people reached out and they said, I'm happy you made that song because, you're sharing your experience and helps me build with my experience. And I was grateful. I was very grateful for that. But it was only the most related to song that I had ever put out for about 2 or 3 weeks. Because 2 or 3 weeks later, I put out Waiting on My Girl. I'm Waiting on My Girl. So the amount of people that shouted me out saying, that's, you're talking about my life, just blew Trauma out of the water. Luckily, you know what I mean? But yeah, I guess waiting on one's girl is a pretty common experience.
Yeah. And I think one of the questions, because I think we talked about it, Dano and I, like, what was the reasoning behind starting the album with that song? Because I think at the time I said, like, that's like the first song sets the context that you listen to the rest of the project or album with. So I would, like, when we were talking about it, I was like, you know, I like the project, but to start the album with Trauma was like such a heavy thing. Like, what was like the reasoning behind doing that?
Well, as I mentioned, it was a very challenging time for me. I was dealing with a lot of personal things. I was dealing with health things. I was dealing with mental things, and I talk about it on Gestation, and I talk about it on Alone Again, and I talk about it on Scare You, and I talk about it on all throughout the album up until the final song, which is Straight, which is like okay, like I'm coming back into my own. I'm getting my equilibrium back, feeling confident when everybody looking again, But for the moment that I was, to set the tone for all those, other songs, Don't Look Down, and songs like that about facing fear and fear that I had in my life and things that were eating away at me. I think of Trauma as like, I don't know if you guys ever saw the Indiana Jones Part 3. I think it was in The Last Crusade, it was called,
Yep.
with
John Connery.
Sean Connery. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And if you watch that in the beginning of the movie, like at the very beginning, there's like a 4 minute thing with River Phoenix playing young Indiana Jones before River Phoenix passed away. There's like a part, and he actually is on top of a train, and he like whips something and then like hits himself in the chin, and that's like supposed to be how Harrison Ford got his chin scar, like. But the point of it is like, River Phoenix isn't in the rest of the movie, and then after that it goes to present day Indiana Jones. But that beginning sets like you need that young Indiana Jones insight to understand the rest of the Indiana Jones movie. I say so that like that River Phoenix 3 minutes was like track one, was like, like this is like, this record is about a a grown man, dealing with things he's being scared of, feeling like he's been duped, all the, he's got relationship issues, he's got different issues he's dealing with. But this track about giving insight into, my upbringing, I mean, it's so, that track was needed to see the context of the whole album, you know what I mean? And that was the last song that I wrote. That was the last song that I wrote on the album. And because right before that I had written Straight, and I thought that the album was done, you know what I mean? And after I wrote Straight and finished Straight, because I had a bunch of Quelle, production. Even though we were in studio and we were recording, we were that I really enjoyed being in studio with Quelle for the recording and the post production. But when I wrote Trauma, I was on my own, like listening. I still had something in there. I felt like, oh, the record is done, but I kind of, I thought it was, but there was still more in there.
Yeah.
And when this beat came on, it just poured out of me, and I realized, okay, now the album is truly done.
Yeah. No, that's, yeah. And that album really changed everything, as you said, Dusty has one of my favorite, like, holy shit Sandman songs, Yes Aya, which is an unbelievable song. But it also has Pussy, which is really weird. And so Homeboy Sandman's albums were weird to me, and I had to talk to people about it, like, what is this? Because, and I listening to your career this week, I was like, oh, every man rap has always been as performative as every other style of rap, right? It's always been aspirational, right? A lot of everyman superstars are still aspirational. They're still heading you towards how awesome they are. And you never were. You were always just giving you what's going on. Like, so on this album, Rich, which I think is your wisest album, it has gems on it. It has one bar that I think explains your whole career. We'll get to it. But it's also like about, Trader Joe's Achilles heel and olive oil being watered down, and like Homeboy Sandman will say some shit that's really out of fucking nowhere in the middle of the song because that's what you're thinking about, and you're just giving people where you're at, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I was talking to I've been called an everyman, before everyman. I guess that just I guess it's just unusual, like, I'm an artist, I'm expressing myself. I mean, I can't express nothing else but myself, you know what I mean? Um, it's really unusual to me um to have so much similarity, among different artists, you know what I mean? Among different, like that's not what I do at all. Yeah, yeah. So cats want to call me an everyman or something like that. Like I'm just an artist. Don't be calling cats playing a role in artist and artist everyman. You know what I'm saying? I'm an artist.
That's
I'm
fair.
I'm nobody's like me in the whole world. And so when you hear a record like me, it'll be about my, you know, individual unique life. You know what I mean? There will be things people can relate to. There are universal themes, that all, but and uh uh I was talking with I had a conversation about this. I got confused for a minute because I was in Portland, Oregon over the weekend.
Yep.
And I had a conversation with Aesop and I had a conversation with DJ Cliff because Aesop is a master. I mean, in addition to being a brilliant, genius, he's a mastermind of yo, he's got a record coming out, I'm not gonna let any cats out of the bag, but Ace can make a record about a podcast and it's amazing. He make
Yep.
a podcast. How do you make a song about podcasts? Making a Zoom, turning on a Zoom, like
Right.
he does that. He can do that. Why? Because there's no records about podcasts yet. Don't make a record about your car and the money you got again, even if it's true. Never mind the fact we had the bonus content
Yep.
about, me. I don't think everybody's a super killer, you know. I don't think that's even true. I just think they playing a role, to hurt people. I just think cats are deciding to play the role to hurt people. But even if that were true, like, because people come out and they say, "Oh, you got all these rappers and they talking about all this nonsense and garbage," but you can't knock cats for just telling their life if that's their real life. Me, I will go ahead and say you played out, big. I don't care if your life is actually what has been 10,000 records already. Cat's been made 10,000 records. It's played out. You ain't got nothing else to rap about in your life that ain't. We've all got. We've all. There's unlimited, infinite things going on in this universe.
Right.
We are artists that create music. We can write about anything. We can. The talented people who belong in this art form can.
Yep.
People who belong in this art form can rap about paintings. You know what I mean? They can
Yep.
rap about, you talk about olive oil, whatever the case is. There's all types of fly ways to take the world around you, run it through your system and spit it out fly. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And cats need to look to do that. And well, not I don't gotta say cats need to look to do that. There are a bunch of cats, You've mentioned Aesop, you've mentioned Edon, you've mentioned Quelle Chris. These are these are my favorite artists. They're looking to make new art, you know what I mean? And they're making the art that that people are going to be discussing in 500, 1,000 years,
So,
So I'm grateful to be associated, bro.
so I had a question. Is there a strategy or process that you use to kind of make like the mundane life things intriguing? Break down the story about waiting for your girl. Like,
Mhm.
what was it about that specific situation where you like, okay, I can make something about from this?
I guess it really just starts with the what I think what gives something importance to me is just the emotion associated with it. You know what I mean? Like it was frustrating. The girl I was dating at the time I was always waiting on her. I was always waiting on her when it was time to go. You know what I mean? You know, uh, 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 the frustration was real. You know what I mean? There's multiple ways to deal with frustration. I could say, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" But the truth is, I wrote a lot of that song, and I say it in the song while I was like, yo, I'm gonna write about waiting for my girl. You know what I mean? I'm waiting for my girl. I'm gonna write about waiting for my girl to make use of this time. On a that album, you know, like I was that relationship for me wasn't the right one. You know what I mean? You know, I have nothing bad to say about that girl. You know, some people are familiar with her and all that, but we weren't the right fit. But at that time, I couldn't sleep. I had insomnia. I couldn't sleep for days. You know what I mean? And I would write a rhyme. I would write a rhyme so that the next day I was like, okay, at least I wrote a rhyme overnight while I was laying in bed. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to be productive. Like art was my way of being productive. Even, yo, I'm just sitting here. I want to leave. There's nothing I could do, but I could be productive writing a rhyme. You know what I mean? So, you know, it just, I think that song, even though, you know, it's a humorous song, and other songs come from something actually being important to me, important in some way. Maybe it's something I feel needs to be said. Maybe it's something that generates frustration, or something that generates joy, something that generates something powerful enough in me that I want to express it, you know, in a greater way, you know?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. No, and the run that you've been on after is great because every album sounds different, and every album lyrically is different to match the sounds. You are a part of the music, and that's one of the things. The new album, Rich, which I adore, I have not loved the critical response to it. Basically, what happens, and you can disagree with me if you want, when you are an established person within this sphere, it's hard to write about someone who's been here for 15 years, 16 years. It's hard to find a new angle to the story. So they're just like, Sandman's at it again over nice beats. And I'm like, that's a disservice. Like, put work in this shit. Like, come on.
I feel you. I feel you on that. Uh, there are definitely, you know, in talking with you,
Mhm.
you know, you seem like a person who has a real love for music, and
Yep.
you know, in the brief, you know, in the brief time we've spoken with each other, you know, I can tell, you know, I've there's been some critical response to this that I appreciate. I appreciate people that look into the art and talk about the art and recognize what, you know, what's going on. A lot of you know, for the most part though, and this goes with the new record to you know, throughout, a lot of what these people are writing about generally is not is trash. It's trash. It isn't even art. You know what I mean? Like I wonder what their mindset must be to write about a Homeboy Sam record after writing a, you know, 100 things about a record that isn't bringing nothing new to the table at all. They don't even know what they're looking for. You know what I mean? There's a these people aren't lovers of art. You can everybody isn't a lover of art, and that's okay. You know what I mean? I don't think everybody has, like, everybody don't need good rap in their life. I need good rap in my life. Maybe the both of y'all do. You know, uh but everybody ain't like that. You know, most people are not like that, and that's okay. Maybe it's just 10% of people that need beautiful music in their life. That's what it seems like. Most people are content to be like, oh, this is what's on, I'll listen to it. So the majority of writing that gets done is part of a marketing machine, and it's part of an exposure machine for stuff for people to listen to. You know, oh, the 90% that'll listen to whatever, let's blow up whatever's getting blown up for whatever the case. You know what I'm saying? But I'm grateful for the 10% of, you know, writers, journalists, listeners, podcasters that are like, yo, this is what I love. And, you know, and I could tell the difference between when they write about something. I could tell it, you know.
Right.
Those are the ones I make it to the end of, because it is interesting, you know, it is interesting to me to know how my art has resonated with people who care about art, you know. But a lot of things I don't even like. I'll check them out, you know. My Darian is my manager and publicist. He sends me the what's it called with, you know, the coverage links, and I check, and I could tell right away this ain't gonna have nothing interesting about my record. This one person doesn't even know what rap is. I might not make it to the end of that, but then I can tell, you know, yo, bless you, love.
That's awesome. No, Kay, I wanted to tell you, I was playing, like I said, my family's heard a lot of Sandman.
Thank you. Thanks for spreading the word to the fans.
And my 10-year-old son, I was playing Fine for him the other day, and the end of the song comes on, and he whips his head around and goes, "What is he doing?"
Yeah.
With the I. And
that was my next question.
I turned to him, okay, and I said exactly what it felt like something I'd been saying for years. Like I said to him, "Hey, it's Homeboy Sandman. You just got to trust
him." I like that.
Yeah.
You got to trust.
I mean, I love that moment. It was like, and I wanted, because that was literally my next question, because that was such an intriguing moment to me. Like, what was the genesis of that?
I'm learning to and let me, I'm sorry, your name is Kay. What's your name, my brother? I'm sorry, with the code.
Dan. Yep.
Dan.
Yep.
Dan, I agree with, I feel the same way that you do, that I am in the best place I've been as far as the moment, you know, like my last few records are special to me in, you know, in a special way, you know, even though I've liked what I've done, you know, the whole time. But Kay, like I'm really learning to trust myself in a special way. I mean, this is music, this is sound, you know, and I'm not, you know, I don't hold a tone like you know, Luther Vandross or nothing like that.
No one does this.
Yeah, but I can produce sound to express myself. You know what I mean? And that there's a lot of emotion on that record, and that the truth about that, and the truth about, there's another joint on there. He didn't do anything. Right, and I go, you know what I mean? And I do that a couple of times. Those things, I heard those things in my head, and they sounded good, so they came out of my mouth when I was in the. That's the only explanation that there is, but that's the only explanation that there is for you know, a saxophonist who's improvising. You know what I mean? I heard a couple of notes, so I pressed, you know, these buttons, or I pressed these keys. You know what I mean? I will credit Quelle Chris for some of my more developed comfort with vocality. Working on Don't Feed the Monster with him, seeing him, you know, he's a like Sudden Death, one of the best joints to come out. And he, you know, but he's got the confidence in himself and in his artistry to let that out and do that. You know what I mean? And make amazing songs like that, because he's like, yo, I'm an artist. I don't need to be a singer to sing, but I am a singer. I don't need to be regarded as a singer. Even if some may not, you know, Cab Calloway, Scat, like they don't even need to be a name for what it is that I'm doing vocally, as long as I feel like doing it, you know? And so I will, you know, I'm moving forward. I actually just today, this would be my first mention of Rich too, which I was listening to today, and is largely finished, and there's more of that. There's more of that. We're musicians. There's more of that. This is a musician. Music is coming out of him, you know. Some of it is conventional, some of it is unconventional. And to be honest, I'm becoming more and more comfortable with the unconventional, more and more.
I love that. I love that. Kay, I have notes for every song, and track 10, I wrote kind of a short version of what he said, which is, it feels like every song opens with Sandman duplicating the most important part of the beat with his mouth. It's so interesting. And it's like you're really a part of the music on this. And I think that's really dope. It's you just immersing in the music, which is leading you to different places every project, right? Because it's different music, you're going in different directions. Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's an astute observation. I got a song called "Summertime" that's on Rich too, and that's I take my favorite part of the beat and vocalize it. I hadn't realized that was but yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, the K the I have in my notes are especially weird because we're dealing with Homeboy Sandman music. Track 7, Nevermind Part 2, right? My favorite beat of the project. I love that beat. But you say something that I said this should be on Sandman's tombstone. The absolute meaning of the album. True expression is more important than being understood.
Absolutely. I feel that way. Yeah. Dag, I should have knew that was the rhyme you were talking about.
Yep. I'm glad you like, because there came a point, and I don't have to get into the COVID shit because, like, I'll be honest, like my relationship with you is different. Like I love Angelitu. It's one of my favorite things you ever did, right? I love No Beef. I love you just angrily ripping and dissing meat, through the song. But I eat tons of meat. I didn't feel any kind of way. I like having you in my life to tell me whatever crazy viewpoint you have on whatever. I value your perspective on this. So
yeah, Dan, it means so much to me, man. I appreciate you. I really, really, really do appreciate you. You know, absorbing my records the way you do. I remember I did a song called Fat Belly. This was in 2013. And I had become vegan for the first time. Because after, I was vegan for a little while, around the time of Fat Belly White Sands but soon thereafter I wasn't vegan anymore. And actually, by the time I shot the Fat Belly video, which was all plant-based foods in the song, there's a whole song with different plant-based foods in it. I mean, there's people eating chicken in the video. I'm not, there's by the time the video came, I was no longer in that space. And I remember, because you can really tell everything about me from listening to my joints,
right,
that people expressed to me and voiced to me, I used to be a fan of yours, but now you're not vegan anymore. I used to be a fan of yours, but now you eat meat. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I thought to myself right away, I never didn't think this. I thought to myself, this person was never a fan of me at all. You know what I mean? Because what I do is not about whether or not we eat the same thing. It's about music. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna let you know what I eat. And by the way, with No Beef, I will say though, I made the track and put it out, and I performed it for a while. But I don't perform it anymore because the judgmental tone of it is not where I'm at right now, and not what I feel. And there's a lot of joints. I perform Name from Dusty sometimes. I don't perform nothing else on the joint. And there's all types of joints that I won't do. No Beef, since you brought it up, I really don't know. I don't know if eating a steak for you is the best thing for you to eat. Like I could say what works for me eating, and so I really don't, I don't spit that record no more. But the point that you make, I agree with, because it ain't about that. It ain't about us eating the same thing. It ain't about us feeling the same way about whatever issue or none of that.
Right.
It's about, is this cat getting busy? To me, when I listen to, is this cat getting busy with a unique style that is, is bringing some frequency into my life,
Is he dope? And also, I love checking in with him, right? I love checking in with him. I love checking into where he's at. And it's for you, perspective is really important, right? Like Loner is a great example. Loner is not just a song being like, I'm a loner, kind of a badass. I have a rug with a wolf on it. It's not like that kind of shit. Um, it's the dimensions of it. It's like the actual like moving variables of being a loner. I've hurt these people. It sucks. I feel bad about it. What was I hit the wrong button. Okay. So yeah, no, there's the last line is I'm wiser than I was, and I apologize that you won't be around to see it.
Yeah, word up, man.
And that's like it's about the wear and tear of being a natural loner, which you just don't see enough of,
Yeah. We got a video for that when it's gonna come out. But yeah, like just the same with like this, this comes right after talking about no beef, but just the same way that I will get on my, it's so important to me to just remember that I know little if that, you know what I mean? Because when I start to get on my, hey, I'm ready to, because I hit individuals with that same type of energy,
right?
Of no beef, like, yo, let me tell you about yourself. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it isn't productive. I'm comfortable speaking my truth, but I need to step off with telling others this.
It's a hard way to live too. The let me tell you about yourself lifestyle. It is hard to live with over the years. You know what I mean? Like you leave a lot of burn shit around you.
Yeah, there's a lot of bodies, a lot of casualties,
Yeah, that shit's hard, man. It's so I don't advise it. Fortify your environment, make everybody around you better. But
I like that.
But yeah. Ooh, I don't know how much time you took with the breakdown, but I was very proud of my observation that one of the reasons you've confused people over the years is that you're always spitting what you're spitting in the wrong tone of voice because you have this really deep, evolved sense of sarcasm where you like Then We Broke Up is an incredibly playfully presented song that if you just listen to the tone of your voice and the way it's just a rollicking good time. But writing wise, it's a song that exists in two time periods, right? Right now, when I don't have you, and back when we had a lot of fun. And so it's very sad, but it's tricking you into thinking it's not. And every Homeboy Sandman song, it kind of tricks you into an oppositional tone that most people wouldn't assign to it.
Yeah, I thought that one was one of the best that I've heard from you.
Word up. That's an interesting way of looking at it. I think there's a lot of merit to that. You know what I'm saying?
And I think it's a defense system, right? I think it's just like I'm going to be vulnerable, but I'm going to fuck with you on the tone a little bit. So you gotta get through that to get there. But
and it ties to what you said about like when you were talking about describing like everyday situations, you really connect with the emotion because the song is a breakup song, but emotionally to me it's really like a life philosophy, that song.
Yep.
That supersedes just like this relationship that you had. Like there's a deeper core to it.
Yeah, the oh, and were you talking about Waiting on My Girl now? Because I thought you said I thought that you said Waiting on My Girl.
Oh no, we're talking about Then We Broke Up.
We're talking about Then We Broke Up.
Yeah,
Then We Broke Up. Right. Then We Broke Up. I don't mean for it to be a sad song. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean for it to be a song, because the album is rich. It's about, like richness is what I think, like there's growth. You know what I mean? Looking at the silver lining. These, health, joy, love. These are the things of abundance. These are the things, that make a person rich, to me. Faith, you know what I mean?
Right.
And Then We Broke Up is like you know, everything don't last. You know what I mean? Everything don't last, and it's not about being sad about what didn't last. It's about gratitude, you know, for the you know you know, the enjoyment. And ultimately, you know, if you look at that song in a big, there's another song on Rich too, you know, Rich 1, 2, and the following ones um began at a certain time period and were all kind of written from a certain time period. You know, so um you know, I'm in love right now. And I've moved on from the relationship that inspired, you know, the relationship that I'm talking about on Then We Broke Up was the same that I was talking about on Alone Again.
Yeah.
And yeah, same you know, same relationship that inspired the jam, you know?
Yeah,
But
so that was because that's what because I, you know, I listened to all the projects back to back.
right.
So when you listen to Alone Again, and then you make a song like Then We Broke Up, like how do you feel about personally? I mean, you wrote the song. How do you feel about Alone Again at this moment?
Alone Again was at a different stage of the you know, the healing process, you know. I haven't listened to that song in a long time. I do remember it being exactly a song that I wrote overnight instead of sleeping, you know what I mean, to one of
Mm.
the but um it was in a you know, that's a healing album. Trauma and all, like, that's a healing album where I'm like doing work. It's an uncomfortable album for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of, you know, a lot of the music on there, like I do Trauma Live. I did Trauma Live. Like I do Trauma, and like we're having all this fun and everything, and I change the whole tone when I do Trauma. You know what I mean?
Right.
But Then We Broke Up is in another stage where I'm able to say, hey, okay, everything happens as it should. You know what I mean? Everything happens as it should. And I'm going to, you know, I'm going to appreciate the time we had. And I'm going, because what I was going to say is looking at it in the greater, you know, the things that occur to me, you know, that are a pain sometimes, or that I look at as a pain, they're all for my, you know, they're all for the best, you know, they're to bring to the relationship that I'm supposed to be in into my life. You know what I mean? They're to, you know, they're to prepare me for, you know, opportunities that I think of as missed or whatever, or to prepare me for the right opportunity, you know, that's upcoming. You know what I mean? And that's what Then We Broke Up is about. You know, Then We Broke Up. That's what the outro is about. You know, it isn't, so it isn't a sad song, you
No.
know. It's a song
It
like
reminds me
at
of
a
that.
time.
There's a Fiona Apple, because it reminded me of Fiona Apple had a song called Werewolf,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, where, she,
Yeah.
where she's talking about like a relationship, and she has a line that goes, "There's nothing wrong with the song that ends in a minor key,"
Right.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
and that, you know, that kind of reminded me. Your song really reminded me of that, and I think it's important to recognize that, you know, even if something doesn't end like how we want, not only in relationship but in life, that doesn't negate what happened beforehand, you know,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
what
And
that
keep,
meant to us.
without a doubt. Yeah, that's very important. And I think that mindset is a rich mindset, because things are going to
Mm.
go this way and things are going to go that way and things are going to go the way they're going to go. But if you can keep in mind that it's all part of the process, and keep faith the whole time, you know, then you're dealing with a rich mindset to me, you know. But
Mhm.
Fiona, she's got bars, man. You know, I sampled a couple of, I did a joint called Anything that's not up anymore. Oh, but actually it's on the I Can't Sell These mixtape, where I just loop one of her joints. And there's another one of her joints that I have a mind to loop, but she gets hers. My sister put me on there. But
Yeah.
listen,
Yeah.
gentlemen, um, I know it hasn't been too long, but I kind of was thinking 8 to 9.
Yeah.
But it's
Okay.
in my mind. So in the next 5 minutes, is there anything that we should get to?
Yeah, let's hit the next five. I was just gonna say it's very cool. There was an AJ Suede quote I wanted to talk about within relationship to your songs, right? Suede had a quote. I think he said that your relationship, you have three relationships to each song: the relationship you had when you wrote it, the relationship you had when you put it out, and the relationship you have now. You know,
Mhm.
And with you, it seems like those three are so extremely different. The way that growth happens because you're so vested in the moment of writing the song that the change in the relationship is vast.
Yeah. That does. There is often a great chasm between between those three different points. But like I'm a I'm looking to improve. As a person, and as an artist, and I believe one will lead to the other. But you talk about the PUSSY joint.
Mhm.
Um, like or the no beef presentation. Like I need to be comfortable saying, yo, that's a super misogynistic record. It's a shameful record. You know what I mean? Like, there's I don't never want, my niece to hear that jam. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Right.
it makes me sad for that. I need to come out and say, yo, like admonishing cats on the holier than thou tip is I keep in mind that I'm not going to move forward. Like I love music. I want to, like I make records, like, and I love doing it. I was doing it today. I'm gonna do it tomorrow. And I was doing it yesterday and y'all don't hear most of it, but it keeps me going. You know what I mean? It really keeps me going. And I really don't have no, uh, you know, there's a whole thing there's a bunch of stuff that people think about when and I'm talking about this 90%. And I'm not talking about people that love, like
Sure.
the people that thank God it's such a blessing are tuned into my true expression. They're gonna get it until I run out of it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's what I foresee. But I don't want to get stagnant and stale and all these things I've been talking to you about. And the only way to do, I got to be ready to be like, yo, I was bugging. I was bugging when I made the PUSSY joint. I was bugging when I made whatever joint. I got to move forward. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
to be able to tell myself, oh, I was bugging again. Maybe I wasn't bugging. You know what I mean? Like I strive to be open with my figuring it out. You know what I mean? Maybe that is something that, there's the the wise man knows he knows nothing. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. No, I
Yeah.
mean, I've said this to Kay on many an occasion, right? Like I'm a natural asshole. That is my natural kind of comfort zone. And my mission in life now has been closing the distance from when I screw something up to when I apologize,
Mhm.
trying to close that gap and get right there and be able to turn it around in like five minutes and be like, yo, that was the wrong shit, you know? So I don't waste time in that wrong space. And I feel so you think about PUSSY versus he didn't do anything, where you're saying like, find you woman, all you need to do is tell the truth, right?
Yeah. How I
Like
sound is super smooth. Yeah.
that's different. You're standing on what you're saying on this album.
Well, yeah. I mean, right. Right now, and the find you a woman. All you got to do is tell the truth. If it come out sounding super smooth. I'm a lot more radiant in that headspace than I was, in the other headspace. So as I continue to learn and grow, there's indicators of when I'm onto something. You know what I mean? And back when I wrote that other jam, I was sick. I was mad. I was, there was all types of indicators that I was off track.
Yep.
And right now there's all types of indicators that I'm on track.
And I know you have to leave, so I want to say one last thing to you. The only flowers that I can give you, really, right, is that in this underground rap world, all the people that I've met who've been absolutely brilliant, but they always are on the precipice of falling over and catastrophe, and they pull themselves back. You mean the world to those people.
Oh,
They
word up.
love you, and I'm glad that they have you,
Oh,
right?
word up. That means a
Uh,
lot to people.
the people that don't fit, the people that are, you know, incredibly interesting and intelligent, but don't love themselves enough. Like you mean the world to them. Uh, and and that means the world to me.
Wow, that's amazing. That means the world to me as well, too. God is great, man. God is truly great. Hey, listen, Dan,
Yep.
Kay, pleasure speaking with you brothers. I appreciate what y'all do. I appreciate y'all spreading the word about me and other amazing art. I'm gonna make moves. Peace.
Yep.
Peace.
Let's do the recommendation corner, Kay.
Yeah.
Ready?
Let's hear it.
Woo! Was that what you wanted? Was that everything you wanted?
Yeah. Was that everything you wanted?
I feel good. I feel good. It's just sometimes you sit with these people and they tell you the hidden gem of the thing that you wish you knew, and they give it to you. You know what I mean? Fiend did that for us, right?
Yeah.
And I think Sandman definitely did that with some of those moments, like his relationship to the No Beef song, his relationship to the Trauma song. That just like him clarifying, it was unbelievable.
Absolutely. It's almost, it gives you a new context. I mean, particularly with Don't Feed the Monster. I mean, that's that's a difficult record to digest for or navigate through for someone not experienced. So for him to give us those gems and give us a context for how he was viewing that the viewer should listen to the album, I mean, it was really great.
He seemed to genuinely enjoy the conversation, which makes me very happy.
Absolutely.
So yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about Margaret Glaspie, Echo the Diamond.
Mm-hmm.
Margaret Glaspie put out an album a few years ago called Emotions and Math, which was hard. That shit was hard. It was dope, real hard ass, like breakup album with a lot of attitude, great songwriting. I loved it. She followed it in 2020 with an album called Devotion, which was intentionally very pretty. And it was pretty, but because it was pretty, it was a little bit boring. The teeth were gone, you know what I mean? And Echo the Diamond, the teeth are back. Big guitar sounds. 10 songs. Great songwriting, great voice.
Okay.
I fuck with it. Yeah. Anybody who hasn't heard Stacking Chips with Zilla Rocca and Jason Griff, do that. That is, a big deal. It's got incredible people on it. There's one song, Kay, that let me list who's on this song. It's called Don't Panic. Def C, Ace Cannons, Solar 5, and Zero Star, and it's just crazy. It's murder. So, yeah, and I was lucky enough to do the write up, and it's being recognized, and people are enjoying that, and I'm really excited about that. I guess I'll do that one. Might have been cheating because Zilla. But let's say, have you heard the Mick Jenkins album?
No.
Mick Jenkins put out an album called The Patience, which is very angry. And it's dope. It's kind
Is
of
it patients as in like hospital patients or patients as
no, not hospital patients.
Okay, the other patients.
Yes. And it's a very, I think of it with the No Name album, not just both from Chicago, but because they were both in that considered kind of poetic MCs. And the last Mick Jenkins was very vibey and very cool. And this one is nasty. This one is angry. And so it's very similar to where Sundial is. It's kind of interesting to watch them, be in that space. Freddie Gibbs is on this album. A lot of good shit. A lot of good shit on this. This is a great record. So definitely do that. What are you rocking with?
Oh man. Nothing new this week. This week was kind of quiet. I enjoyed I enjoy the Winning Time episode this week.
Oh, cool.
They did a great one on Larry Bird, where Larry Bird was kind of like the focus. So I mean, that's really all. I think music. I think we're gearing up. I think this is kind of like the quiet before the storm. I think the next couple of weeks, months are going to be really,
Yeah,
really on fire.
stuff that's on the way. That's going to
Yeah,
be really interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, it's. I'm super excited. There's a ton of records I'm excited for,
hmm
but none of them are really pop records.
hmm
I really don't. Do you have anything you're really waiting for in the pop sphere? Like, people are like, Drake could drop. I'm like, okay,
yeah. It's like,
let's go. Like,
I mean,
no,
no, not really, not really in the top. Like, yeah,
whatever.
nothing I can think of.
No.
I mean, Open Mike Eagle, he's not in the pop.
Not in the pop sphere. Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
yeah, no.
It's interesting. Yeah, and Armand Hammer's not in the pop sphere.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's an interesting place that hip hop is right now. But yeah, by the way, Winning Time, I heard it's kind of in danger of being canceled. Uh,
Yeah,
Writer strike and all that. So people, if you like it, watch it, support it, talk about it, to keep it going. But yeah, we'll see what's popping. Uh, yeah, I appreciate everybody. Um, it's wild. Like I was just a hip hop guy, right? Like I was just listening to this music and loving this music, and to be able to sit with these people after, you know, and kick all the theories and like get to know their process and have them kind of respect our perspective is fucking crazy.
Mhm.
Mind fuck. And while
Yeah.
I was talking, what I was thinking, Kay, was I would give up all the money just to retain control of what I talk about.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
In what way? Yeah, expound on that just a little bit.
If they came at me like, hey man, we'll take over Free Music Empire, we'll keep you there. It'll be, Aunt Jemima presents Free Music Empire, right?
hmm
But Aunt Jemima's going to tell you what records to cover, you know, and you're going to make a great salary, but you're going to have a Jack Harlow episode. I I would take the hard pass.
Absolutely.
Like being able to steer this ship means more than making a ton off it to me.
Absolutely.
It's
It's the, it's the
because
integrity,
yeah, well, integrity. I'm very old, okay? Integrity's not gonna get, not gonna help my back. But my mission is different because I don't rely on the money and I get to pick whoever the fuck I want. I get to shine a spotlight on people who don't get that spotlight sometimes.
Mhm.
I get to change the way the money flows even a little bit.
Hmm.
And being able to do that is a big deal. And trust me, I would, if steering the ship steered me towards big money, I'd take the big money. Like, yeah, look, I'm not, but I wouldn't give up that steering wheel for any of the figures.
Mm.
For James Harden's salary. You know what I mean? Wouldn't give it up.
hmm
Yeah. And having you here, it's everything. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. People stay with us. We're booking guests. It's getting easier and easier.
hmm
Very exciting. So stay with it. Stay with it. And if there's people that you think should be on here, let me know. I'm around. I'm on Twitter. I'm on X. You know, I'm on with the threads. I'm on Instagram. Yeah. So follow, join the Patreon, interact with me. Let me know what's going on. We're gonna start bringing Patreon patrons on the show again to review records with us. Jump in on that. Get it done. Get it done. And buy K something nice.
What will tomorrow bring?